Right, hi guys. I'm Victoria Beale, and I'm delighted to welcome today Chris Shaw and John Cronin from CBO. Guys, lovely to see you again. How you been?
Good to see you. Really good to
Yeah.
see you. Yeah, we're having a great time at the moment, having a blast. I think, Chris, would you agree?
Yeah, great time. Shame about the weather, but other than that, all is good.
I'm really happy to hear that, particularly during these times. And we're going to be telling all the entrepreneurs listening now and watching why you're in such a good mood. So let's start with you, Chris. Let's talk about a bit about your career to date. How did it all start for you?
So my background is quite eclectic or diverse. I was told recently. So I'm trained creatively, funded training and education by working with numbers and finance, and then ended up as a professional basketball player.
Wow.
And then I went from there through corporate in various roles, mostly sort of commercial head, troubleshooter. It was at that point I met John actually in my corporate life, and had a specific skill set around change, strategy, communication that I developed through those different businesses in those different sectors, and then decided to go off and do it as a consultant and a coach, and that's when John and I then reconnected, and the rest is history really. Cultural gravity through to CBO, where we are today.
Fantastic. And John, how about yourself?
Similar to Chris in that it's been an eclectic route for my career. I wasn't a professional basketball player, but I did start my career as a professional drummer, and then realised very quickly that I had to get into the real world and earn some proper money. So my career has been in facilities management, it's been in design and development, it's been in financial services, and early on I set up a consulting part of a large organisation, and I just loved it. So that always stuck with me. And then I moved into a large global corporate business, managed to grow successfully a couple of their individual businesses, and as a result got invited onto the UK and European board of that company. Spent 3 years on that and did a huge raft of things, from business strategy to running the Mauritius offshore facility to customer experience and everything in between. And made a decision one day that I wanted to move away from corporate life, wanted to have a little bit more control of what I'm doing, have some fun as well, which it always wasn't the case. And about 9-10 years ago now, I set up a consultants business. And as Chris said, we met, done a whole raft of things through lots of different mediums there. And really we've landed after 10 years on CBO, which is sort of an amalgamation of all the 10 years of consulting with many, many businesses and the 20 and some years, which I won't mention the real number, a lot of years of working in corporate life as well.
And the thing is, what you've done with CBO, I'm just going to build it up a little bit because I'm absolutely fascinated what you've done. And it's really prudent during these times that you've actually decided to come together and bring CBO to us. So thank you for doing that. So just to let you know, guys, listeners and audience, these guys are so gifted. What they've done is they've actually worked out a formula for the key to success. Believe it or not, there is a formula, and it can seriously improve your chance of success. I'm not even joking you. I've done the course, the first course. I was blown away, and I'm just building it up because now Chris and John are going to tell you all about it and how exciting CBO is. So over to you guys.
Chris, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So John and I have always had a fascination with frameworks and models and formulas and ways of solving problems and simplifying problems. And I guess the biggest challenge that anyone faces really that's covers all areas of business and life is how to achieve success. So we accessed a great deal of research over the years that we've worked together, and gradually started to refine and build a framework and a formula for success, which is the CBO key to success. It has 9 building blocks, and it can be used universally against any backdrop, any scenario, and it can significantly increase your chances of success. John, do you want to go into any of the
No, I think all I'd add to that is that it was really important for us that we both come from a very practical and pragmatic background. We've had to be in that in the real world. And what we saw by doing the research and observing businesses is that these 9 building blocks, and obviously stuff that sits behind them, happens over and over again in successful people, whether that's business or life or sport or entertainment or whatever. And in some respects, we've distilled it, we've decoded it. I don't know what the right term would actually be, but we're not reinventing the wheel. It's sort of innate stuff that we just bring into the conscious world. You do have to have the depth of it, of course, but it's not, it's not some newfangled thing that we don't already know. It's actually just bringing the DNA parts together in a way that makes it work. And you would say, of course, you're going to say this, John, but I will anyway. We actually truly believe in it, because every time we've used it and every time we've used it with others, it works.
I believe it.
Obviously, it's used consciously. So we're really, actually, I think that's why we're so enthused about it. We can see it actually working.
I think it's fascinating, and I truly believe it as well. I was very, I'm very, what's the word? Trepidatious, if that's the word, when it comes to coaches.
Unsure. There you go.
Unsure, yeah. If that's a word, great. If it isn't, we'll just edit it out. So I'm very unsure about coaches normally, and consultants and everything else. And I think there are a lot of people like that. Particularly now, it's going to be a little bit harder. So if you were to summarise what makes you guys different and this whole key to success different to the normal coaches and business consultants out there, what would you say to that?
I'll jump in to start, and Chris, please add to this. But I think there's several things. Number one, I go back to what I said earlier in terms of just being pragmatic and practical, because there's an awful lot in the consulting world, and we've spent 10 years in there, that it looks great on paper, or it's an exercise rather than anything that actually makes a difference as to business. And everything we keep gearing back to is about genuinely making a difference and it affecting the business in the real world. First thing. I think also what we're not trying to do is we're not trying to create something that creates consulting opportunities. We're just trying to arm people with the most effective things that sit behind it. And over the 10 or so years, and it's taken us that long to sort of develop it, refine, hone it, evolve it. We've built a whole raft of other tools and techniques that sit behind it. So again, you watch a lot of great TED Talks, YouTube models and videos and stuff, and it's really inspiring, but then you walk away from it and you think, great concept, but what now? What we've tried to do is build this so that there is substance and depth. So there's breadth and depth to it in both ways, and you can scale it to what you want. And I think the last thing was, whether it's luck or judgment, and I think it has to be luck in a sense, although you wouldn't necessarily say that, we didn't build this for the COVID world of online. This was always going to be built as a remote, virtual, online, light touch, you can, a flexible approach to it. And what it's just done is this whole world of, COVID and making people much more online and need to be virtual. It's just accelerated what we're doing, rather than we've actually sort of taken something we already had there and just tried to shoehorn it into the COVID world. Chris?
Yeah, I think that, just to add to John's point there around the what now piece, we have seen a lot of models and frameworks that are very context bound or very theoretical, and TED is lit with them, and we, that's been a bugbear of ours for years in terms of, well, how do you make those things, but then also, so simplify things, concepts, but then make them practical and allow people to apply them and actually see a difference and understand how to apply them. And I think that's really been our focus. So all of the things that we've built over the years, it's all been about, right, well, that's a great concept, and yeah, that makes sense of something, but then how would someone take that away and actually get a benefit from it, rather than just, have a great first impression and then walk away and get sucked back into their day-to-day world. And that's really been the driver for us. It's about making that difference to people at an application level rather than just a theoretical, conceptual level.
And I think one of the things that attracted Chris and I to work together originally, and if you look at the businesses we've been involved in, they've all had a common theme in that it's about joining dots. And what we constantly see is there's, some people are very, or some businesses are very, very good at creating the best dot in the world. It's the best, most perfectly shaped dot, but it's in isolation. And like most things, whether it's in business or life, value and traction comes from being able to connect those dots, and actually, the sum becomes greater than the part, sort of thing. So that's that. Again, I think that's where we've put a lot of time and effort into sort of joining dots as well, but to make things simple.
So what I'm getting from you guys, very, very ethical, lots of integrity, and you're basically consciously empowering people, I guess. Yeah. Would you agree with that?
We actually want to make a difference. I think that's our fundamental thing. We spent, and that's partly why I think we both left corporate life, because in a lot of cases it is Groundhog Day. It is the same thing over and over again. And actually we wanted that freedom to really make some form of impact in the world, whatever that may be.
Yeah. That's very refreshing to hear as well. So thanks for that. And with regard to people who have actually used this or worked with you guys in the past, is there any big organisations you can name drop or you can talk about that you've worked closely with that have had a positive impact from what you do with them?
We've worked with, we have to be slightly careful, because obviously some businesses we operate, but we've worked with a whole raft of businesses. So we've worked in the automotive industry with some very well-known luxury car manufacturers, sports cars. We've worked across corporate businesses that span the world, 10, 20,000 people, in insurance, finance, banking as well, very much so banking, and it varies, because sometimes sometimes the smallest success can be the biggest thing, because someone which we will work with that can have a small success, it permeates out, so they may change something in their life that actually has a knock-on effect into the business. So there are certainly where programs have been put in place, and you've got a common language, and you've got a common approach to success and thinking about that. And some businesses have changed quite considerably as a result of that, in terms of how they engage people and how they motivate people. But in some cases, and actually I think some of our nicest successes have been when it's been a CEO or an individual in a business that's come back and said, this has made a difference to how I operate in home life. And that's had a knock-on effect to how I work in business, which has it's a bit like, you drop that pebble in the pond, and the ripple effect is, just pervades much broader. And we don't try and track too much, because success is very personal to some individuals. Everyone's success criteria is different, and every business is different. So I'd love to say we've got loads and loads of data on every bit of success, but actually it's more about the people coming back to us and talking to us and saying, this really worked, how can I move this on to the next level, or what can we do next? And that's sort of, I think, sometimes our best indication that we're successful, because people want to continue to engage with us. Chris?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's really amazing what you've done, and I wish you all the best. Now we've got a couple of things just to ask you before we complete the interview. So the first is, obviously there's lots of entrepreneurs and business leaders who'll be listening to this and viewing this interview. So what piece of advice, two pieces of advice, it could be one each or two each, it doesn't matter, that you can give to people right now during COVID lockdown times? People are lost, they're very challenged at home and at work. What's the best piece of advice you can give, guys?
First piece of advice would be to really understand why you're doing things. Understand the relationship between what you're aiming for and what's driving you to aim for it. Because we've worked with lots of businesses where they've got their strategies wrong because they've not really understood why they're doing things or what they really want. They've not refined that. So really exhaust that avenue of inquiry when you're analysing why you're doing things. Can't emphasise that enough. And the other one that I just drop in just before John goes there is take a look at our framework, and look at the key to success and see what components you're strong on and what components you need help with, because our research tells us you need to be strong on all nine, and there are no shortcuts. So that would be my advice.
Okay, thank you.
I think the things I would just add to that in terms of two major areas is I think it's always important to be broad in terms of your thinking. It has to start by being broad. But there comes a point when, particularly in this COVID world, where there's so many things that are going on and panic sets in to some degree, and the natural inclination is I'm doing stuff, therefore I'm okay. And actually doing stuff is the worst thing you can do. It's actually, is it the right thing? Because there's lots of things we can do, but there's a few things we should do. So I think the first thing is, and I like the phrase laser-like. You start broad, but start to be laser-like, because I think the risk is that you can almost do too many things and not do any of them very well, rather than do a few things and be really driven. And that comes back to the point Chris made, but be clear on why you're doing it. But then once you are clear on it, really be laser-like and be clear and drive for that. So activity doesn't mean success. Activity doesn't mean good. It just means you're doing stuff, whether it's the right things. I think the other thing to say, and again, it's interrelated to what Chris has said and what I've just said, is I think it's finding the time to think. And over and over again, we see activity as a good thing. I'm doing stuff. We're working hard at the desk. We're working hard at the laptop. But sometimes it is, I use the phrase a hamster on the wheel. The little hamster running around and getting faster and faster. And sometimes it's just okay to stop, get off the wheel, look back for a second, because the more you can spend a bit of time thinking, and thinking isn't a waste of time. It's the best investment you can make. The more you can spend that time thinking, the more it gives you the connection to the why, point Chris made, what I need to move forward, and actually what I'm really going to focus on. And that comes, and then you can create lots and lots of possibilities from that, and then narrow it down to what are the few things I'm going to do.
Yeah, there's a great quote that I love, which sort of summarizes that or encapsulates it, and that's when you know what's truly important, everything makes sense. When you don't know what's important, anything makes sense, and there's a difference. Yeah. And you can be a busy fool, particularly in kind of uncertain times where there's lots of challenges coming from different directions. That thinking time is critical.
Totally agree. 100% agree on that.
Fabulous. Well, last but not least, we've got to do something for you guys now. So you've told us about your life history. You've told us about CBO and the key to success. What are you guys looking for? Who are you looking to work with right now? And if it just might spark someone's imagination, if you could let us know that.
Yep. Chris, do you want to kick off?
We're looking to work with any individuals, leaders, entrepreneurs that are serious about success and want to make a difference. We want to work with those guys, be them clients, partners, influencers. We want to be connected and work with good people who want to make a difference and succeed.
Fabulous.
That sums it up, actually, because we've not built something that's unique. Chris said it's universal. The application is universal, but the people, anyone can gain from it, and it could be something in personal life, it could be something in business, or anything in between. So there is no limitation as long as people want to succeed. That's really the individuals we want to work with. And actually those that have got a mind to want to succeed, because ultimately, although on the, if you look at the key to success, on the surface you go, well, it's 9 elements, of course, it's quite innate, it's of course it's sensible. Well, yeah, because we've already know a lot of this, it's innate in our head, but it's actually the skill is being able to bring it out into the day-to-day and have the substance below it, if you want to call that, to be able to have, it's a toolkit. The best painter, decorator, mechanic will know the right tools to use at the right time to get the best effect. And that's really is. So it's having an open mind, people that have an open mind to wanting to achieve success as well in anything they do.
We touched on it earlier. You have already been running some workshops and things, haven't you? Do you just want to tell us a bit about how those have gone?
So it's been really intriguing, because obviously the way we run these is we've got a starter approach, which is really to give people a basic overview, and it gives them enough to absolutely be able to go away and work on some things and draw a benefit from it. But like most things, some people want to dig more, want to understand more. So we've got different levels, right the way up to what we call Expert Project Plus, which actually works at corporate or a business level, let's say that. and helps them take a project from end to end to success as well and apply it. So it becomes more of a program like Common Language. But what we're seeing, and I think it's one of the most, for me anyway, it's certainly one of the most energizing things, is we've been on sessions where people have, as you're talking through them, so we have interactive pieces towards the end, which is tutor led, but we also have videos that people can use and watch at their own time and access to resources. When we're doing the interactive piece, it's amazing how many light bulb moments come on. So for instance, I'll give an example which just constantly sticks in my mind. One individual was on a session recently, was talking about his priorities and what he was focused on and everything else. And he wants to absolutely be a really good parent. And he said, I spend all my time reading golf books. And it was like, well, we talked about prioritization and all stuff around that. And there was this dawning moment where he said, what I'm trying to achieve and what I'm actually doing is completely at odds or difference. And it was just, you could literally see the pivot moment where this light bulb moment came on. And they're the sorts of successes we love, because you can almost say that moment in time made it, you know, his path changed. It might be slightly, but his path changed.
Yeah. I think it's amazing. I was on that call, so I remember that very well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I forgot that. Yes, you were.
That's good. Well, I'll be checking up on him later to see if he's more successful as a parent.
You just validated that I was telling the truth then, because you've actually
and I think the last thing is, because I could talk to you for hours, by the way, but we have to cut this short, unfortunately. I'm sure we'll do another interview in a few months' time.
Right.
But how can people connect with you? How do they get in touch? What's the best way?
Okay. Well, we've got the website, which is www.subio.co.uk. You can contact us through that. We're on LinkedIn. Contact through yourself as well, and obviously the Bright Stars group, because we partner with the group as well. So they can go through your connections as well. And we are around. Search Chris Shaw, John Cronin, Subio, and you will find us. Absolutely,
will find us.
And you've got some videos on YouTube as well, haven't you?
Yeah, people can connect on there as well. Yeah, absolutely. And we encourage, we run live Q&As on all of our material. So if people have questions and just want to, talk about things with us, that we've got those channels to engage with. So, feel free, challenge us.
That's brilliant. Well, I'm glad you said that. Well, it is challenging times, and I really hope the guys listening have found this interesting. I certainly have. We look forward to talking to you again in a few months when CBO is kicking on a pace, as they say. So thanks a lot, guys, and take care, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks, Victoria.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.